Hey, welcome to the VapePassion show. This is the first episode. In this episode, we're going to talk about advocacy news, Marlboro laying off workers, battery safety, temperature control, the announcement of 2 new vaping organizations, vaping tips, and a lot more. So let's get started. Hey everybody, Alex here with VapePassion.com. Welcome to my first show. This is my first show and it's probably going to be raw and unpolished. It's a work in progress, so let me know if you have any advice or if there's something you'd like me to cover in future episodes. So I hope to publish 1 episode every couple of weeks or so, maybe move it up to once a week if I can. You'll find show notes on my website at VapePassion.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at VapePassion, and I'm on Facebook also. You can find all the links on my About page on YouTube or on my website. Alright, let's get into the show. So first we're going to talk about some advocacy because that's what's most important right now. Okay, so the first thing here, you can find this on CASA.org. Vermont is proposing an indoor vaping ban. This bill does not provide an exemption for vape shops. So, if this bill passes, you're not going to be able to test out your e-juices. So definitely something, if you live in Vermont, you want to take action on. Okay, the second one here is for Oregon residents. They are proposing a bill, HB 4062, which would enact a 50% tax on all vaping products. That includes liquids and devices. So both of these hearings, both for Vermont and Oregon, those take place on Wednesday, February 3rd. So head to CASA.org and get whatever information you need so that you can make sure you can do what you need to do to fight these bills. Okay, so that's it for advocacy. Let's move into some interesting articles, some interesting news. So Gizmodo reported on something that Wall Street Journal reported, but Wall Street Journal is behind a paywall, so everyone's looking at the Gizmodo article. But the makers of Marlboro, Altria, are laying off workers to invest in more vaping, and they expect to save $300 million per year, and they aren't reporting much on the specifics on how many people are being laid off or anything like that, or the reason for the layoffs really, which we all know is because their sales volume is way down, which Wall Street Journal also reported on that. Last quarter, the sales volume is down 2.6%. So that's quite a bit. So they're taking this money that they're saving by laying off workers to invest in electronic cigarettes. The CEO, Marty Barrington, declined to offer specifics, but said that the company continues to invest in reduced harm products. So good news for the vaping industry. None of us want to see anyone smoking cigarettes, so it's good to see companies like Altria losing sales and everyone going to vaping. Obviously, they see these big tobacco companies, they see the potential in vaping. They know that's where everyone's going, so they have to do what they can to get in. Unfortunately, it's big tobacco and their products suck anyway, but it's good news nonetheless. Too bad those people have to lose their jobs. Okay, so the next one here, I came across a press release. The Vaporcade company, they went to the 63rd PGA Merchandise Show, so this already happened at the time of this recording. They were exhibiting their 1963 e-cigars, which appear to be becoming really popular on golf courses and in pro shops throughout the United States, which is really interesting because, I live in Colorado, and I don't know how it is around the rest of the country, but smoking is banned on most golf courses that I've been to. But I don't know how they feel about vaping, and it'd be really cool if you could go to the golf course and vape an e-cigar or any device, but golfers are known for using cigars, for smoking cigars while they're golfing, but it'd be really cool to be able to take an e-cigar and vape in between rounds, or just throw the cigar in your pocket and hit the ball. A lot easier than smoking a regular cigar, and healthier. So really cool to see that happening. So Vaporcade is actually, they have a promotion going on for golf shops, pro shops. You can buy a box of Vaporcade's 1963 e-cigars for $450. Normally that would be $900. So they are selling it, I believe, at a loss, probably to get all of these e-cigars in the shops. That is 30 e-cigars. So yeah, pretty good deal. If you know someone who runs a pro shop, mention this to them. Get some e-cigars in the shop. Okay, so vaping360.com got a hold of Battery Mooch. So he published a post about battery safety. Basically, he goes on to talk about how while a lot of batteries are labeled 60 amp, whatever, there really are no 18650 batteries rated over 30 amps, despite what these labels are saying. And in regards to safety, he mentions that a rating does not define the maximum current that a battery can deliver. Basically meaning you can push a battery much further than the amp limit, but that's not safe. People new to vaping or new to Ohm's Law or anything like that, new to battery safety, they don't realize that. They don't realize that you can push a battery beyond its limits. A battery has no protections. It's not going to stop. It's not going to stop working when it hits its limits. It's going to vent or go into thermal runaway. So he mentions that batteries are manufactured by only a small number of companies worldwide. Even though you see batteries from all these different brands, really they all come from Samsung, Sony, Panasonic, and LG. They're just rewrapped. There are some smaller battery manufacturers in China, but there's not a lot we know about them, and they're so small that most batteries you find probably are not coming from them. He goes on to mention that a lot of these smaller companies are buying up the big manufacturers' batteries and rewrapping them, putting high current and capacity ratings on the labels, making people think that they can actually handle these limits when they can't, and then they're boosting up the price. Another thing he mentions you need to be careful of is that a lot of rewrapped batteries are actually lower grade batteries that didn't make the cut when the big four manufacturers were doing quality control. So the big four, they do quality control tests. The battery does not meet their standards, so they pass them off to someone else to sell them rewrapped. So if you're buying a rewrapped battery, it might be a lower grade battery, something you have to be careful about. So he has some things here explaining more about continuous current, quick discharge current, and what those things mean and what you need to know about it. Really what it comes down to is always try and buy a battery from one of the big four manufacturers when you can. It's going to keep you safe, and it'll be worth it. They're gonna be high performance batteries, as high performance as you can really get. Don't trust labeling. Don't use any batteries above a 30 amp limit, no matter what the wrap says, because the battery technology has just not come far enough to exceed 30 amps. But yeah, definitely something that you should read. There's a lot of good information here. It's a long one, but it's worth reading. Okay, now this next topic. So there are two new pro vaping organizations just announced last week. One is Sevilla, a newly registered American vaping association that will act as a representative in the U.S. for the top China e-cig manufacturers. And that includes Aspire, Innokin, Kanger, and Smoke. Among the more than 100 other e-cig manufacturers. So there's a lot of people in this group. The plan is for these manufacturers to commit their resources and financial support in the fight against unfair FDA regulations. So their mission statement is that Congress should not regulate vapor products as tobacco products. The FDA should modify the grandfather date to allow products currently on the market in order to avoid the pre-market tobacco application process. And the FDA should create a streamlined process that allows companies to submit more reasonable applications for the vapor market. So it's great to have such a large organization fighting. And finally, China is these manufacturers in China are doing something. I think a lot of us were worried that it was going to be up to us, all of us in the US and around the world, to fight this fight on our own, but now we have the support of all of these manufacturers in China, which is great. So the other organization that was just launched is the Vapor Technology Association, or VTA. They're also comprised of leaders in the vaping community, in the vaping industry. Their goal is to become a leading advocate for emerging vapor technology. The idea is to bring a fresh perspective to the industry and the policies that impact it. VTA will serve as the advocate for leaders in the vapor community who develop new technologies for the benefit of public health, but also to promote small businesses and job growth in the vaping industry. They want to promote responsible public policies and regulations, and also a high standard of safety within the industry. So you can find more about them at vaportechnology.org. Okay, so now on to Phil Basardo's website. So he published a few great articles this week. One of them, Are you saying WTF to TCR? So this article is about using temperature coefficient of resistance on temperature control mods. Basically, he talks about how a lot of mods these days have temperature control, and you can set them to work for titanium or stainless steel or nickel, but you don't know exactly what kind of metal of each of those metals they are supporting. So, if it says, say for example, your mod says stainless steel, well, is it 316 stainless steel? Is it 302? Is it 304? All of those work a little bit differently. So one of the things you can do is, if your mod has the ability to adjust the coefficient, you can find out what the coefficient should be for the specific type of metal you're using and adjust it that way. But one of the things that he's really pushing for is for more manufacturers to see this and realize that either they should be saying exactly what type of stainless steel or nickel or whatever that their device supports, or that they should include different settings for every type of that type of metal. But really interesting. It's something I've never really thought about. He links to the Steam Engine Wire Wizard page, which I've never thought about using for figuring out my coefficients, but good to know that exists. He also published a post about the VaporEsso C-cell testing. A lot of people have been talking about the ceramic coils from VaporEsso, wondering if there's any kind of dangers with vaping them. So the test results came back from VaporShark. Basically, they found there was nothing wrong. There was nothing found on the filter. So the response from VaporShark says, "Hi Phil, I sent this in on 12/3, but they didn't start the testing until 12/29. I think there is more to do, but Enthalpy has eased my skepticism by saying that if the filter is completely empty, as shown in the report, then there would be very negligible trace elements in the vapor, and definitely no particulate. So it looks like there may not be an issue according to them. I think more testing should be done on the vapor using HPLC or GCMS, but this should help for now." So from the looks of it, it looks like there's really nothing to worry about at this point. Okay, so this one is from Michael Siegel, Dr. Siegel, on tobaccoanalysis.blogspot.com. He published an article showing a poll from Ohio. They polled 800 people, and really what this analysis shows, what the poll shows, is that there are a lot of people who don't know anything about vaping. Only 34% of the people polled think that vaping is safer than smoking. It's such a small percentage. 66% of them didn't know that cigarettes are more hazardous than e-cigarettes, or they thought that cigarettes are no more hazardous, or actually thought that cigarettes are safer than e-cigarettes. And 77% of the women polled didn't believe that smoking was any more dangerous than vaping. So really crazy. I don't know if maybe there's a different line of thinking in Ohio, but I would assume not. That this is probably typical of anyone who's not familiar with vaping and anyone in our country. It's pretty sad to see that. Dr. Siegel mentioned at the end of the post that this data should serve as a wake-up call to the major anti-vaping organizations and the FDA, the CDC, and other state health departments, that they should really be telling people that vaping is a lot safer than smoking. And here's another one from Dr. Siegel. Switching to electronic cigarettes improves cardiovascular health of smokers, even among dual users. There's always been a line of thought, I think, in that reducing the amount you smoke might not be helping your health at all because you're still smoking. That might be true to some aspects of smoking, but at least in terms of cardiovascular health, cutting down smoking in any way is better for your cardiovascular health. What a lot of people are doing is replacing the amount of cigarettes they smoke with vaping. So this new study that Dr. Siegel is reporting on shows that switching from smoking to electronic cigarettes improves cardiovascular health of smokers, even for people who are still smoking. He closes the article with the statement, "This shatters two major misconceptions of anti-vaping advocates. Electronic cigarettes are a legitimate method of quitting and they improve health significantly. and that dual use of cigarettes and electronic cigarettes is not necessarily a bad thing. As long as the person cuts down substantially, respiratory and cardiovascular health improvement is observed. Okay, so then we have an article here from factsdomatter.co.uk. The article is titled Sweet or Sour? The Appeal of E-Cigarette Ads. So this is in response to that recent study citing concerns about advertisements towards children. Basically what the researchers were looking for was, is there any appeal of tobacco smoking after these children have seen e-cig advertisements? The researchers looked at 598 English school children ages 11 to 16 and showed them advertisements for flavored e-cigarettes. So one of the things found in the study is that the researchers said, our data provide no support for the renormalization hypothesis, since exposure to e-cigarette adverts did not increase the appeal of tobacco smoking in this sample of children. So basically, the whole renormalization argument that the anti-vaping groups are saying is non-existent. And then they go on to say, however, our data suggests that certain types of e-cig advertising may provide a gateway into tobacco smoking by increasing the appeal of e-cigarette adverts and increase interest in buying and trying e-cigarettes. So what's funny about that is that first they say that there's no data to support renormalization, but then they say it may provide a gateway. The author of this post, Paul Barnes, one of the things he mentions in regards to that is that basically what they're saying is, we didn't find any signs of the gateway or renormalization theories, but give us more time and we'll come up with something. Basically, they want more funding so they can do more studies to find something that doesn't exist. Let's see. Okay, so I write for halocigs.com. I had a post published last week called Vape Pens and Mods, Time for a More Powerful E-Cig. So basically, I'm walking people through, because a lot of HaloCigs customers are more beginner types. So I'm walking them through understanding cig-alikes and vape pens and what their options are for moving up. I talk a little bit about regulated mods, what you would want a regulated mod, and I also talk about unregulated mods, the pros and cons of those, and why those really aren't for beginners. So give that a read and a share if you feel so inclined. Okay, now moving on to forums. So on ECF, the e-cigarette forum, here's another one from Mooch. He posted a blog post about lithium-ion battery chemistries. What are the differences in their safety? So basically he goes into some information about what venting is, what thermal runaway is, and how it happens. And then he talks about the differences in battery chemistry. Basically IFR batteries, IMR, INR, and ICR batteries. Really what it comes down to, based on what Mooch is talking about here, is that not all batteries, there is no battery, lithium-ion battery that we use for vaping that is safe, but there are ones that are safer. The safest battery chemistry would be an IFR battery, because the temperature to reach thermal runaway is the highest and the temperature of reaction is the lowest. A little less safer than IFR would be an IMR battery. Below that would be INR, and the least safe battery would be an ICR. So definitely read that. Okay, so here's a post on Reddit, The Noisy Cricket, vented with an indestructible Addy and MXJO batteries. So there are a bunch of pictures here showing the mod. Pretty much went into thermal runaway. It heated up so fast and so hot that it pretty much melted the whole setup together, batteries and everything. He's also got some blisters on his hand from the burns, the user. So what happened, the user who posted this is the vape shop owner who sold this customer the Noisy Cricket with the indestructible Addy set at 0.55 ohms, Canthal A1 paired with two MXJO 300 mAh batteries. So he says it was working fine in the shop, nothing wrong with it. The customer was hitting it for quite a while in the store and happy with it. Then he came back to the shop 2 hours later showing the setup that vented, that it got so hot that it fused everything together and shot out of his hand. He's not trying to cause any drama within the group. He posted this just to give everyone a warning that devices like this can be dangerous if they're mishandled. So no one really knows, as far as I can tell, no one knows how this happened, but yeah, it's an unregulated series device that has the potential to vent or go into thermal runaway. So always be careful about what you're doing. Who knows what could have happened? Maybe the guy was constantly hitting it and overheated the batteries. Or maybe there was something wrong with the build. Maybe the coil wire was touching the deck and it shorted. It could be anything. The guy's very lucky to have not had his hand blown off or any other kind of serious injury. His hand looks pretty burnt though. I bet it hurts. Okay, so I saw this post on Reddit. Good flavors to go with raspberry. What happened is that this guy is doing DIY and he accidentally used too much raspberry in his e-juice. And he doesn't like it. So he's asking everyone, what can I do to fix this? So some of the good tips I saw here were that you could dilute it or use other flavors that complement the raspberry, like lime or chocolate. And another one that I saw mentioned often is use lemonade. I think all three of those are really great ideas. And I think lemonade would go well with anything, almost anything fruit related, if you put too much of it in your e-juice. Raspberry lemonade sounds awesome. Blueberry lemonade, strawberry lemonade, those all sound good. So if you accidentally overmix, if you add too much of a flavor in your e-juice, throw in some lemonade, dilute it, and change up the flavor. Such a great idea. Okay, and lastly, so we all know that One Hit Wonder doesn't sell sample sizes. I think they do give you samples if you order a large bottle, a 180 ml bottle, which is like $60, so that's kind of expensive. But if you want to try all of their flavors, you have to pay $60 a bottle for four bottles. That's a lot of money. But you really want to try One Hit Wonder, instead go to noleafvapor.com. They sell 30 ml sample bottles for $15 each. So what they're doing is they're buying the 180 milliliter bottles using their own bottles, because No Leaf Vapor makes their own e-juice also. So they have all the equipment to safely mix and exchange bottles, but they take the 100 ml bottles, pour it into 30 ml sample bottles without the One Hit Wonder label. So it's not going to be an official bottle, but you get to try 30 ml sample bottles for $15. So I got this tip from the Vapor Trail channel. Yeah, so that's it. That's the news of the week. Let me know what you thought about the show. If there's anything you want me to add in the future, talk about later, anything. I'm open to ideas. All right, guys, thanks for watching.